Seeking answers to age-old questions. Deciphering the world painted around you by the mainstream media. This is the Kev Baker Show. And now, here is your host, Kev Baker.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to all you Wookiees and Anons that are tuning in live tonight, right here to the Kev Baker Show on www.truthfrequencyradio.com, where we truly do give you the best of protection from deception. One absolutely huge night we have got for you tonight. Honestly, 2016 is going to be a big year for the Kev Baker Show, Truth Frequency Radio Network, and Anonymous. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But Johnny Whistles, I've been counting down the sleeps like it was Christmas until this show. It's finally here. And this is really going to raise the bar on KBS tonight, man. Are you looking forward to this?
Oh, Kev, I've been looking forward to this since we started talking to Free World and getting it, they were coming on the show. So this is going to be epic, brother. Absolutely epic.
Going to be on another level. And you know, it's not just the Kev Baker Show tonight, because my good friend and fellow host on the network, Joe Joseph, he'll be coming up with the Freedom Link right after this show. And he's going to be joined by author and researcher, Mr. James Perloff. So don't go anywhere. So, Johnny, before we get into this, head over to the Wookiee Cave and give them all a shout out, man.
Will do, Kev. Thanks very much. We've got 40 people in the chat. Absolutely amazing. So thanks, everybody, for turning up. We have, at the very first, our brother from another mother, Mr. Joe Joseph. And then we have our two amazing moderators, Lucky, Penelope, and we've got Angie Marie. We've got Bill Demarest. We've got...
And Johnny Whistles has disappeared on us.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, Kev. It seems to be doing that. I'm not sure what the thing is, but here we go. We've got Bill. We've got Caroline Smiley. Is that Carol Smiley? Smiley. We've got Cecilia, Charlie. We've got Chris A., Chris Smith, Darryl. We've got David. We've got Do Wanna Know, Iferian, Jai Mac, John Teeter. We've got our other brother, Kev, Kenneth Webb. Imagine having that guy in the chat. It's incredible. We've got Kenny, Kev, Kevin. We've got Lichty Lass, Matthew, Michael Scott. We've got Nancy Lalonde. Free World. How we doing, brothers? We've got Peter Collins, Peter Small, myself, Papa Bear. We've got Reese, Rizzy. We've got Sam. We've got Sarah. We've got Scottish John. How you doing? We've got TFR Wookie, Time Lord, and Thomas Silk, and Tim Osmond. And last but not least, Mr. Transpersonals. And Kev, all the Anons have got masks on.
Oh, that must have made your job impossible, Johnny. And I want to give a shout out to all the security services that are tuned in live tonight as well, because I am sure they are numerous. Like I was saying at the top of the show, 2016 really is going to be a game-changing year. Not just here on the Kev Baker Show and on the network on the whole, but also for Anonymous. Now, we've all heard of Anonymous. We all have our own idea of what Anonymous is. And for many of us, we're used to hearing Anonymous like this.
Greetings, world.
But you see, not tonight, because things are stepping up a gear in 2016 for Anonymous. No voice changers tonight. No need for a mask. We're on Skype. But I am absolutely immensely proud that Anonymous, or part of them, have chosen the Kev Baker Show and Truth Frequency Radio to step it up a gear. They're going to now be speaking publicly, instead of hiding behind the keyboards and the masks, where it's very easy for the intelligence agencies to hijack every good operation they do. So, tonight for everyone, we're going to learn what Anonymous really is. And we're even going to be asking, are we truly awake. So, without any further ado, let me go over to somebody that they call Op Free World. And for tonight, I will be calling him BFH. Welcome finally to the Kev Baker Show, man.
It's been a long time coming.
It really has. And I mean, you've been hanging out now on TFR for a little while. Seen you in the chat room. Very, very active over on the Facebook. And finally, the show that I say the security services have been dreading is going ahead. And this is going to be great tonight, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a big step for us, considering most of the anonymous related information people get from CNN and YouTube, that a lot of it can't be verified at all. So it's going to be interesting.
And that's why I really do think this is a great move on behalf of Anonymous, because we do need to step this up a level. And it's not just BFH we've got tonight. We've got somebody that works on behalf of the media kind of wing of Anonymous, and he's going by the name of Diametric Opposition. Welcome to the show, man. And we've been having a really great conversation off air about what Anonymous is, what people's ideas about what Anonymous is. And tonight, hopefully, we're going to be able to clear up any issues and lay it right out for people.
Yes, sir, and thank you very much for having me on tonight. And I want to say thank you and hello to everyone across the pond from the States. We love all of you. You guys are our brothers and sisters. And if there are common misconceptions or ideas that that people have questions about, we'd like to go ahead and try to answer those to the best of our ability, and maybe hopefully represent a more positive ideal of what Anonymous is.
And trust me, listeners, the conversations that we've had off air, if we can make it half as good for you tonight, this is going to be literally mind-blowing. And I want to come to you, Op Free World. What is Op Free World? Because some of the listeners out there, they'll have heard of Anonymous, but I would love you to explain to them what it is you actually represent.
Op Free World, basically, in its conception, was designed to be kind of a umbrella operation to other operations Anonymous already had going. Basically, on Twitter, we do a lot of retweeting, we do a lot of information spreading, and we actually launched our very own operation, Op Wolf Twilight, the other day, and it's got over 1,100 people that signed the petition to stop the mass murdering of wolves in Sweden. So hopefully that will get their attention to stop murdering wildlife. I mean, if they have a problem with it, they can relocate, and there's other things they can do to, control the problem if they see it that way. But humans trying to control nature isn't exactly what we should be doing. I mean, we're people on this planet just like animals are, so we shouldn't wipe out a species of animal because somebody doesn't like them.
And guys, that's just one of many operations. And I want to take it back to the roots. I want to hear from you guys what Anonymous truly is. Because we're so used to, especially in the UK, if there's any TV show with hackers in it or anything to do with cyber warfare, they always throw in a mask. And because of the programming, we associate that with Anonymous. So what is Anonymous?
Anonymous is anonymous. It's an idea in its conception. We've had many discussions over the years of what we should do with this massive idea. Some of us want to centralize into a central power structure. Op Free World and others like us decided that we were not going to conform to a centralized structure because it puts a target on us, and a lot of things that we do on the hacktivist side of things, as well as just public relations and helping people out on a day-to-day basis, the governments of the world don't exactly want us to be seen as the good guys, so they target us and single us out as much as they can and try to influence what we're doing. But I encourage anyone and everyone to, get on Twitter and, look at what we do on a day-to-day basis, and unless you're blind, it's clear that most of us aren't bad people. And Anonymous, in its originality, actually started on 4chan, and it was us posting memes of things and making fun of people and trolling people and getting walls and all kinds of things out of it. But after a while, we realized just how many of us there were, and we decided to change the machine of Anonymous to start using it for good instead of just trolling. And that's how, in its conception, it all started.
And it's evolved into this organism, this system that has governments worried. And Diametric, I want to bring you back in at this point, because I was saying to BFH before the show and yourself about just recently the mainstream media covering some anonymous story, irrelevant what it was, but what they done was they got a young teenage girl in a hoodie, showed the back of her head, a computer, and she claimed she was anonymous. Now, this is the thing with anonymous. Anyone can claim to be anonymous. And also the media, they take advantage of that. So I'd love you to talk to the listeners about, how do we identify what anonymous really is versus this persona, this false persona they put out in the mainstream?
Yeah, I really appreciate the opportunity to do so. We're commonly misrepresented, and it's wise, if you are the opposition of Anonymous, to misrepresent us. It makes sense that if you are trying to do good, if you are working in opposition to present-day ruling classes, that they would try to subvert, they would try to distract, they would try to bring people in to discredit us. And so really what that does is if people are honestly watching the news, even if they're reading the news and they're reading it badly, they should be able to see that the media can only print the same story so many times, and that there has to be something else happening. There has to be an unspoken dynamic here that if you're able to research for yourself on open servers and things and see that Anonymous is doing things from one end of the spectrum to the other. We have people that are interested in trying to save those wolves or save tigers in different parts of the world, or the Death Eaters that chase pedophiles, hack all their information and give it to the authorities hoping they'll do something. What that tells you is that everyone that chooses to say, I am a part of Anonymous, sees that there is something wrong, and they've decided for themselves on their own discernment that they, instead of waiting for someone to come along to make things different, they've decided to be the change that they seek. And they may not have computer hacking skills, and that's fine. Maybe you can research, you can look things up, maybe you can make phone calls, maybe you're a good networker, maybe you're good at graphic design. And when people are putting together different ops trying to help different people in different situations, they need artists. Artists are always the first revolutionaries, and they need the artists to put together banners, things like this. We take everybody who has discerned for themselves that they want their world to be a better place, and they're going to contribute their aptitude. So first, that's kind of who we are as an idea. If you see that the world around you could be better and you want to be a part of making it better in whatever your aptitude is, then yes, you absolutely can be or are anonymous.
And I think this decision to go more public and to actually speak to people directly without the voice changer and everything else, it's going to help them, A, identify the genuine operations, and B, form some level more of a trust with this group that we've been told are the bad guys on the internet, the ones that are going to hack everything and bring it all down. I think this is a brilliant, brilliant move, guys, and it's an honor that you've chosen this network to do that, because we know that there's been other networks after yous as well. And you have been really, really impressed by what you've seen here at Truth Frequency Radio, haven't you, BFH?
Oh, yeah. I was having a meeting with a lot of my staff like a month and a half ago, and a non-death angel was the original person to come in here and, just see the community and hear what the message of TFR was. And she brought it to a meeting, and she said, at first we were looking to design our own complete independent media platform, and that would require a lot of resources from all spectrums of tech to do that and to make it secure. So she said, how about we look at TFR and some other, alternative media sources that aren't spewing junk, and maybe we can make a relationship with them instead of launching our own platform.
Yeah, I definitely think this is a really good idea. Now, totally kind of going on a segue off of there, you've been talking about some of the operations that you've been running, but one of the main ones that's been in the mainstream just recently, guys, is this Operation ISIS and the fact that the Twitter accounts were hacked. And you were saying to me, BFH, that things really have stepped up against you since you've declared war on the Foot Clan. Could you talk about that?
Surely. Operation ISIS is anonymous, targeting ISIS, ISIL, Islamic terrorists,
MI5, CIA, Mossad.
Anything related to ISIS, and that does not limit governments either. So if we see a connection, we're going after it. But basically, we're knocking out their infrastructure to be able to communicate their radical message to people that be susceptible to it. Teenagers, anyone. I mean, their brainwashing techniques blow our minds at some points. But we're knocking out their infrastructure, and we're basically saying that here's the line, you guys crossed it. You shouldn't have shot innocent people in Paris. That was it. You're using the internet, so you guys think you're good at the internet. We're going to show you how good we are. We'll just turn it off.
Now, here in the
that's
UK,
what we've been doing.
Here in the UK, they were running a story saying that some of the websites that ISIS have set up, the IP addresses, they were allegedly sold by the UK government to the Saudis. Now, I don't know if you know anything about this, but you're probably about the best guys I could ask if you have seen anything that would really, really tie in our security services with these characters. Because we talk about it often enough on this show, guys, but we never have anything to really back it up. You guys seen anything like that?
Well, of course. Security agencies are indeed helping ISIS. I mean, that is beyond even denying at this point. And you got to look at it this way. There's only so much infrastructure that they have access to. I mean, the biggest servers in the world aren't anywhere near the Middle East at all. So if somebody was going to start blocking out connections in that region of the world, it would very easily be done. I mean, we've done it, and we don't even control the servers. So they have to, at some level, be getting some assistance from someone to make it happen. Otherwise, it couldn't happen at all.
Absolutely. Now, I want... Was somebody else there? No, I'll come back to you, Diametric, because this Operation ISIS, I mean, this really is the front line of the battle right now. And of course, with the security services being involved, I'm sure that infiltration within your ranks must be a problem that you have to be absolutely on your toes for. And it's not something that we're alien here to at TFR either. So has there been a problem with that within Anonymous at all?
For the most part, we have consistently remained, as much as we possibly can, as much as any group possibly can, in the loops of what software out there is going to keep us the safest. And Anonymous, part of the evolution of Anonymous has been the fact that now they work with militia, constitutional activists that are deemed sovereign citizens. They work with many numerous groups. Some of those groups have information on ISIS, and they know that they can trust Anonymous because we wreak havoc on whoever our enemy is typically. And so there was a partnership that was made with numerous different groups that were already on ISIS's trail. And so this has been the collaborative effort of many. And that's another thing. You don't have to be anonymous. If you're not anonymous, that's fine. You don't have to be. You can just as easily choose to be as you can choose not to be, as long as everybody sees the same goal ahead, that we are all trying to live free and with liberty in place. So the disruption of ISIS has really been a problem for American Anons because we changed, DC changed their politics concerning the Kurds, who we supported for almost 30 years, and then all of a sudden said that we weren't. Well, the Kurds, the Kurdish fighters that are fighting against ISIS, when they lost all of that support, they were simultaneously being bombed. Well, we had a problem because we had troops over there that are in touch with Anonymous and giving us real-time information on what's happening. And, we give them support when and where we can. And when our government decided to back away, that became a bit of a problem for us. And when it came down to security, we really had to step things up big time. And that's just a constant evolution. It's never going to change. And this is where, on your guys' side of the pond, the cypherpunks have been incredibly helpful. And a lot of the cipher writers and soft code and hard code writers have been able to keep us, very safe, because it doesn't matter. You can exert all the force you want, you still can't solve that math problem. So
That's what I was going to ask. Is it much easier now for Anonymous to write their own software that will keep them safe?
I don't know if it's easier now, but we have more people interested in it. And some people that are really skilled at it, just they have a natural aptitude and they understand characterization. So they've been able to keep a lot of people safe. And my hat's off to them. We love them. They've been able to make sure that we get good discernible information, and we work with everyone around the globe. And, as far as the subverters that come into the groups and try to harm our communities, I don't know how to explain this in a way that everyone will truly understand, but I believe across the pond there's places where they call snitches, they call them a grasser. And we can spot a grasser pretty easily. A lot of it has to do with intuition, but we can tell who speaks our language pretty well.
And here's the thing, guys, because on this side of the pond, when I look at the kind of police state that we have, it's very more technologically based. It's more CCTV, behind the curtain, shall we say, with a velvet glove on almost. And then we look over the pond to this heinous, militarized police force, if I can call them that is building up in America right now. And, diametrically, we were talking before the show about what it's like looking into America at your government right now. And I was saying to you, and the listeners have heard me saying this before, but I really, really fear for America right now. And I'm wondering what kind of operations are Anonymous running right now to combat what is going on over there?
You want me to take that?
Yeah, you take that one, yeah.
Okay. We have, let me talk about our disadvantage first. We were talking a little bit before the show about the agenda that is being run globally and how long maybe that agenda has been in play. Well, our parents didn't put anything in place before us. There was no legwork. There was no groundwork for any type of resistance or revolution or anything. So we're doing this now on our own. We're building it from the ground up, an entire network that spans from California all the way to Florida and New York, and then into Canada, into South America, all the way across the pond. And some of the measures within that have to do with making sure that if something happens, we have an intelligence network in place to be able to relay the information. That's been our first priority, taking advantage of the social networking that goes on around us. And I don't think that's divulging anything. It's kind of obvious. It's in front of all of us. We're going to take advantage of the technology that we have.
And in this day and age, we have to get it across to the listeners out there who still think there's some shred of privacy on the internet. All that's gone, guys, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're not going to give you any software. They're not going to give you any codes, and they're not going to give you any hardware that their hands hasn't been completely through, where they have little gadgets and gadgets to make sure that they can monitor everything. Cellular signals are very easy to grab. Anybody can grab one of those out of the air. All the way to internet signals, everything. They don't put it out there unless they can control it.
Exactly, and folks, join us after the break. We'll be running over all the hashtag operations that Op3 World are running right now, and we're going to be getting into some bigger picture kind of stuff, some deep level stuff here with Anonymous, folks. Anonymous, live on the Kev Baker Show. Don't go anywhere, stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's world exclusive right here on the Kev Baker Show, where Anonymous are speaking without the voice changers, without the fancy graphics. They are live right here on truthfrequencyradio.com. I want to thank all of you for tuning in tonight, especially all the new listeners. I want to see you all back here for all the shows across the network. We've got Joe Joseph coming right up after this with the Freedom Link, and he's going to be joined by author and researcher James Perloff. And then tomorrow night, in true Truth Frequency synchronicity, I'm going to have Christopher Everard on here, the man. He hosts a show on Sunday night right here, and he is the man behind EnigmaTV.com. And guess what? He is going to be coming on and sharing his research into where the IPs of these ISIS accounts lead back to. And guys, this really will be very, very telling and fitting with tonight's show. So before I get BFH to run through the various operations, chat room, if you have any questions, throw them into the chat right now, and we will do our level best to get them to the guys. So, BFH, back to you. Let's tell the listeners all these operations you've got running right now. And, of course, they can help by sharing the media.
Yeah, anyone can help. I mean, it's really simple. You can make a Twitter account. It's free. Doesn't cost anything. And you can simply retweet information that we're putting out through the internet, and it will share its way to hundreds of thousands of people. Op3 World on Twitter broke 600,000 impressions last night, and we only have 3,049 followers. So that just shows you how many people that we can touch as a smaller Twitter account. I don't even want to know what that's going to look like, 500,000 followers.
And if you think of it this way, guys, it's like a virus, because once you start spreading these things and get your own followers, we all start with no followers, but then we grow exponentially. And that's how it can grow out of control. Isn't that right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we started with no help and no one promoting us. And then now, today, a year later, we have a ton of stuff going on a daily basis.
So let's run through some of these operations that you want help with.
Well, we launched Opwolf Twilight. That is aiming to stop the mass murder of wolves in Sweden and other places around the region. But Sweden is the target location to get the government to pay attention to our voices on that. You can find information at Op3 World on Twitter about that. Op Chemtrails, that's pretty self-explanatory. We're bringing light to the difference between icicles in the sky and chemicals being sprayed into the sky. It's pretty obvious when you actually get a high-definition camera and you zoom in and you take a look at some of these things like we have been, and showing high-definition pictures of that, stuff that you just cannot see with the naked eye, not to mention that the trail goes about miles behind the plane, not a few hundred feet. We have Op Whales. It's a brand new operation that was started on top of Op SeaWorld. I'll get to Op Whales first, though. That is targeting the mass murder of whales in the ocean. I mean, you see organizations like Sea Shepherds and activist groups like that trying to stop them from doing it. You might have seen the TV show Whale Wars. We're helping them out with that. There's Op Beast. That is aiming to end the abuse, sexual abuse of animals around the world. They don't have a voice, so we're giving them one. Op Death Eaters is targeting child molesters, people that have molested children, and we're trying to inform communities that they are there and they are present, so you need to watch out for that, and we're just helping communities with that on an individual level. Op SeaWorld is targeting shutting down all SeaWorld pens and slave things that we just do not agree with. When they starve whales and they grind their teeth down and they forcefully breed them for profit, that when you get right down to it, it's quite a nasty picture. Op Tiger Storm is aiming the protection of all tigers worldwide so that they don't become the next dinosaur, and we can enjoy their beauty and pride for many, many more generations to come. Op Killing Bay is targeted at stopping the Japanese from mass murdering dolphins and other places around the world that are killing these beautiful creatures. And Op ISIS, as I said before, we're locking ISIS down and seeing where they connect to and who they're in league with and limiting their ability to influence people on the internet.
And here's the beauty of this, guys, because we can listen to that full list of operations there, and you might think, well, that one I like, that one I don't like. And nobody's forcing you to like any of them. Or, alternatively, you can like absolutely all of them. It's not a religion. There is no set of rules here. And that is one thing I really like about this idea, Anonymous. Now, we're still waiting for some questions to get in.
I've got one, Kev, here.
Go for it, Johnny Whistles.
It's from Cecilia McQuaid. And it's actually quite a good question because I hadn't thought of this myself. But do Anonymous believe in the need for alien disclosure?
Of course we believe in the need for alien disclosure. Anonymous believes in the need for disclosure of absolutely everything. We believe that people have the ability to choose for themselves and look at information, and that our public is capable of, seeing information, looking at it. I don't believe that anyone should be for, the censorship of information. I mean, that's what you're looking at is, should anything be withheld from people, or should people be able to see it and decide for themselves?
Any more whistles?
Not just now, Kev.
Oh, this is going to be
They're all
brilliant.
thinking hard, I think.
Well, I tell you, they better get their thinking caps on, because I know Diametric has got so much to say. And, I was saying at the top of the show about we're going to be asking what it really is to be awake. Are we awake? All of us here, we probably all claim it daily, hourly maybe. But are we really? Diametric, over to you, my friend.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm actually watching the chat, and I want to get to your question. I did see a couple of questions in there, though, and I want everyone to know that these are answers in the general sense. Nobody speaks for Anonymous. It's an impossibility. We use generally the Swedish swarm theory, and what that is with all of the aforementioned ops, say you wanted to help with all of them. Okay, what we generally do is the person that comes up with that op is the one that's going to say, this is the op, this is what I think we should get done. And then the people that want to join, whoever's aptitude is really inclined towards that, or whoever has resources for that op specifically, is the one that will kind of lead that charge. We say that we don't have leaders, and we say that everyone's a leader. And then for the next op, there may be somebody else that is more inclined to or has the resources for that operation. So in that sense, there is no centralized or generalized leadership, and we can't give specific answers because almost anything you could say about Anonymous is true and false.
And Diametric, this ties in with what we were talking about earlier in the show, because BFH was talking about a discussion where maybe it should go more centralized. And I think the advantage that Anonymous has is the fact that it is no central head they can cut off it. There's no way that they can take out one character to bring it down. And that's the power of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's a way that you protect yourself almost by keeping things compartmentalized. When you take all of these different groups, put them under one hub, they're much more easily subverted. The leadership is much more easily subverted, and now you've destroyed the whole thing. So we've kind of learned our lessons from the past, and to address some of the Yeah, trying to address some of the questions here. Says, how can you get in touch with them? How can you get in touch with Anonymous? The way that I would do that is I'm in the States. I live in the state of Ohio. So I would go to social media feeds and I would type in Ohio Anonymous, or I would type in the name of my city or Providence or whatever it is, and allow people to find people that are in their area. And then you sit back and you discern for yourself who it is you want to talk to. Remember, just because people say they're anonymous doesn't mean they can't be bad people or negative people. These are all just people. That's it. There's nothing special about them. They've just decided to stand. And that's it. That's the only thing that separates them. So to get in touch with them, to get in touch with us, we have numerous different ways. You can try to find people in your country. You can try to purposefully look outside of your country. And if you look hard enough on social media, you'll find us. What is Anonymous's main goal? We have too many goals. There isn't a main one other than freedom. We want people to be able to discern for themselves and decide for themselves what they believe is right for their life. And it doesn't matter what country you live in. We want you to be free. And the goals, the means in which we try to achieve this are we've decided to join in the information war. Everybody knows that media, from England to everywhere to America, the media lies. And because of that, we've decided to take part in that information war and fight against them and take part and create new dialogue, an honest dialogue that's been made by our hands that says this is.
I think that's why it's vital that you've decided to go public just now. It really is, because not only does it put this kind of more, personal feel to it, but you have to combat this mainstream media, because even the chat room there, they were talking about the mainstream media's stories about Anonymous. And I was saying you can basically judge by the tone of them, because they always try and demonize them. And it's that fact that they're trying to program that into everyone that we need to combat.
Absolutely. And we kind of spoke to the effect of this earlier. If you can agree on your own discernment that your media lies to you and is a state-run agenda media, then it makes all the sense in the world to go ahead and question their motives if every time you hear about Anonymous, it's in a negative connotation. What is their agenda for that? What reason, would there be for that, for such a tone to be struck about such an organization? When you can plainly see and look for yourself that there are parts of Anonymous where people are trying to help animals, they're trying to help people regain their freedom, they're trying to help protect children. When you see that those are our works, those are the things that we do, and then you hear on the television or the radio that we are something else, you have an obvious conflict here, and you can either go into cognitive dissonance or you can take for yourself what you believe you are seeing and hearing. My real name is Jeremy Dieter. I'm from Ohio, and I took my mask off a long time ago because I wanted people to know it's okay to be anonymous. It's okay. I'm also the father of a 12-year-old little girl. She's beautiful. And I understand that if I feel as if I'm in a position of endangering myself or my family by coming out and saying, this is me, this is who I am diametric opposition. I'm diametrically opposed to anything the ruling classes say because I know they've lost their position of trust. My investment is in my daughter because I want her to be able to live an honest life. I want that when I leave here, when I die, I don't leave her to the horrible abuses of tyranny. And that's the goal. That's the goal. We're not asking for anything more than an honest way to live, to no longer be under the boot of ruling classes that threw us overboard a long time ago. And it doesn't matter what country you're in. You can plainly see they're all running the same agenda. They're in a club, and we're not in it. And they're making it plainly obvious.
And I think the best snapshot of that for anyone to see is when they gather for their climate conferences, G7, G20, because we have that elite few on the red carpet, quaffing the champagne and the caviar. Then you've got this police state, the ring of steel, and everyone else outside it. And yet there's only ever a few there protesting it.
Something to say on that same note is, I saw in the chat room somebody mentioned, do we have any plans to expose the media further. And the truth behind that is just watch it. They expose themselves. Yeah. I mean, they make us look like a bunch of vicious hacking criminals that our only goal is to invade your privacy. Well, if you've watched anything about Anonymous, our only goal is to make sure you have it. I mean, they take away, they get into WikiLeaks and they shut them down. They shut down Mega Upload, and we blew them up because it is our ability, it is our right as human beings to have a freedom of expression, especially on the internet and the technical age. We will not allow until they completely annihilate us. And they've thrown us in prison. They've harassed us. They found us. They do this all the time. We are targets. And it is important for people to understand that we will always be targets. And they paint this evil expression of Anonymous all the time because they want you to fear us. Because if you pay attention to what we do, you'll see the fact that we are fighting oppression at every single move they make. And they hate us because they can't shut us down. They can't shut us down like a company. They can't kill us like a corporation. They can't sanction us. They can't do anything because we are too big and there are too many of us and there's too many of us doing our own thing. You know, Jeremy mentioned, how you can find Anonymous. Look in your general area and you will find us. We are everywhere. We really are the 99%. We are the silent majority. You hear us talked about all the time. And if there is not an operation in your area, which there probably is, but there is, if not, take it upon yourself to make one. Do it yourself because nobody's going to do it for you.
And the ironic thing is, guys, here you are. Hackers, really, that's what Anonymous, most people associate it with. And you're being demonized, yet we're up against these elite who have literally hacked reality. And BFH, we were talking about this a couple of times now. And it's great that you come from the world of computers and things like that because we literally ourselves are computers. And we've been programmed from birth. And it doesn't matter how awake we claim to be. All of our beliefs that we think are our own, they've all been given to us by somebody, right?
Exactly. And, I've been getting mixed emotions about coming onto TFR and taking off the mask and not using the typical voice changer. But you know what? Damn it. Here's the truth. We're running out of time, people. These guys are setting up their big fall. They want us to be shaking in our boots and peeing ourselves because we are so scared. And Anonymous, we are not scared. They come at us, we hit them harder. They try to censor us, we hit them harder. And we will not stop. The 1% is controlling the 99% on a fundamental level. Everything you watch, everything you hear, even on radio waves and broadcasts, they know how to get in our heads and make us think things that are not natural. Like they've enslaved us absolutely unconditionally, and they did not ask our permission.
Absolutely. Jeremy, you got any thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah. I believe that the polarization of all of us in first world countries is incredibly harmful. It makes sense to paint the people that are fighting for your freedom as either insane or terrorists or criminals. It makes absolute sense. And it, if you're trying to run an agenda where you're trying to put people in chains, enslave them through debt, you do not need a voice of opposition, and we create a completely different dialogue. So it's in their best interest to paint us in the most negative light. And like he said, think about what a news organization really is. There isn't another organization on planet Dirt that can lose credibility in a story and then just keep on rolling. They're there the next day and they're there the next day, and it doesn't matter. The news stations aren't really held accountable by any measure. Everybody just knows that they lie, and they are there to serve an agenda, and they kind of live with it.
And we have to change the kind of language because let's drop the news and the media because they're just the propaganda wing of this new world order.
And that's why we're on TFR.
Yeah.
That's right.
Now, one question that I have to get in here from Lucky. Lucky is our religious social media she a workaholic, basically. Also played a crucial role in uncovering a mole amongst us here on TFR. But she was asking, do you guys use or know anything about the software called Demon Saw?
Demon Saw.
Yeah.
That, do not touch that. Do not, all I'm going to say is, do not touch that. Ever. That's all I got to say about that.
Well,
if it says, if you could go on Google, okay, Google, and you can get on there and it says, oh, your information's safe and we're going to have this on our censored internet browser and we're going to put this on the very top link, think about that for a second.
Yeah, if it's Google sponsored at the top, you don't want it. And always look into ownership. Find out who the owner is. Spider Oak used to be awesome. And then it was bought out by people in D.C., so we could no longer use Spider Oak. If anyone's using that, please stop. The paste bins, things like that, nothing is safe. You have to assume, unless you're a coder, that nothing is safe.
I will, anyone who wants to support Demon Saw, I ask you to do this. I want you to download a software called Super Anti-Spyware. I want you to set your homepage as Demon Saw. And I want you to close it, run the Super Anti-Spyware, clean out any cookies you have. And then I want you to load that internet browser, close it right after loading it, and run that sucker again, and you will see exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, somebody else asked, can my USB port get hacked or binded to my Wi-Fi adapter, Bluetooth adapter? Yes, and your computer doesn't need to be on. They have things that work like RFID chips, and it's through remote access. They can be within so many feet, depending on the wall that separates them from you. And it could be 150, it could be 50. And what they do is they send a signal, and it's enough to transfer information. Believe it or not, that's the same technology that was used during the Cold War for spying. And for years and years, the White House had a piece of equipment in it with spy hardware in it from Russia. And it's the exact same type of stuff, but it's a bit more advanced now.
I've got a quick question for you guys. Who's the major threat? We hear about the Chinese and their cyber warriors, but from a governmental point of view, who are on the cutting edge of the hacking world?
The NSA, by far.
That's who we should all be worried about, really?
United States all day.
The NSA, by far. I mean, you got to think here. The only reason that the world... look at China. Okay, look at China. How many years do they have, really, in information as far as the internet goes? Okay, there's a reason that the Chinese send mega waves of information. The NSA just smacks them off like flies unless they want them to get in. I mean, it's insane.
I always look at like the NSA, like the kind of cyber kind of wing of the New World Order. You've got Mossad,
that is exactly what
they're the false flag wing, and then you've got MI5, MI6. They're just anything dirty at all, really.
Well, they all work in tandem.
Exactly. It's all a sharing operation. It's one entity, much like Anonymous.
Exactly. And, Snowden, praise to that guy. Surprised he's not dead, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Now, BFH, I have to cut you off because I cannot let this show finish without Diametric Jeremy reading out his little speech. Oh, it's amazing, guys. You have to listen to it. So I'll just hand it to you right now, Jeremy.
Oh, man, I really appreciate that. I do write, and we work with numerous different independent media, and sometimes I throw it to them and say, hey, if you want to, put this in print, go ahead. And this is one that I hadn't sent out yet, so this will be the first public airing of it. And it's still a bit scatterbrained, but here we go. We are all bound by the same things. Our jobs, distractions, are the places where we chase our paper money, a control device, so we can shuffle around numbers to pay bills, to the liking of others and keep food in our homes, unhealthy boxes of crumbling infrastructure. We all eat the same poisonous foods, drink the same poisonous water, and breathe the same poisonous air that gives us GMO farts and cancer. We are all witnessing lives in a country change drastically, and we are sharing this experience like children in a room stacked with people staring down at their electronic boxes, aka cell phones. We are also bound by desire, and will soon be bound by conflict if we are not careful. Most people I talk to agree that they feel or believe something is coming humanity's way. Something big could be very well just over the horizon, bearing down on us as we play our Xboxes and avoid strange weather. If these ongoing worldwide catastrophes are no more than shallow breaths before the deep inhale of chaos, then most of us also agree that almost no one is properly prepared. We are bound by plagiarized/revisionist history and our lack of really knowing any of it. So I believe it is up to us. We are bound by governing bodies that only seem to work counterintuitive to the nature of their nation's people. We are bound by incarceration for feeding homeless. We're bound by our countrymen and women being killed by our police who then suffer no proper recourse. We are bound by our position of second-class citizenry directly below the boots of our ruling class. We are bound by the same fear that will keep us all from living our intended purposes. Fear that has kept us from unifying, has kept us from believing, will also continue to keep us from ever knowing true freedom. We are bound by the laws of nature to fight for our inherent freedoms. These freedoms are given to us by our Creator and not by any man or men. We are bound by duty to never allow those we love to suffer the horrible abuses of full-blown tyranny, as we are already under the influence of enough. Our binds have us looking at one another for direction when first we should make a choice to look inside of ourselves. We are truly one choice away from complete and total freedom. One choice/decision is what separates us from having every opportunity we have ever imagined ourselves capable of. These binds have driven us together with purpose and clarity. Declare yourself free from this open-air prison. Declare your sovereignty as a flesh and blood being and not a member of the corporation. Declare yourself no longer asleep to the silent war on your soil that has taken hostage your liberty. Declare that from this day on you will find more ways to be free from a system of debt and enslavement. Buy as many goods from private business as you can and grow your own food as a declaration.
Absolutely epic.
Going to be on another level. And you know, it's not just the Kev Baker show tonight, because my good friend and fellow host on the network, Joe Joseph, he'll be coming up with the Freedom Link right after this show. And he's going to be joined by author and researcher, Mr. James Perloff. So don't go anywhere. So, Johnny, before we get into this, head over to the Wookiee Cave and give them all a shout out, man.
Will do, Kev. Thanks very much. We've got 40 people in the chat. Absolutely amazing. So thanks, everybody, for turning up. We have, at the very first, our brother from another mother, Mr. Joe Joseph. And then we have our two amazing moderators, Lucky, Penelope, and we've got Angie Marie. We've got Bill Demarest. We've got...
And Johnny Whistles has disappeared on us.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, Kev. It seems to be doing it. I'm not sure what the thing is, but here we go. We've got Bill. We've got Caroline Smiley. Is that Carol Smiley? Smiley. We've got Cecilia, Charlie. We've got Chris A., Chris Smith, Darryl. We've got David. We've got Do Wanna Know, Iferian, Jai Mac, John Teeter. We've got our other brother, Kev, Kenneth Webb. Imagine having that guy in the chat. It's incredible. We've got Kenny, Kev, Kevin. We've got Lichty.
That's why I really do think this is a great move on behalf of Anonymous, because we do need to step this up a level. And it's not just BFH we've got tonight. We've got somebody that works on behalf of the media kind of wing of Anonymous, and he's going by the name of Diametric Opposition. Welcome to the show, man. And we've been having a really great conversation off air about what Anonymous is, what people's ideas about what Anonymous is. And tonight, hopefully, we're going to be able to clear up any issues and lay it right out for people.
Yes, sir, and thank you very much for having me on tonight. And I want to say thank you and hello to everyone across the pond from the States. We love all of you. You guys are our brothers and sisters. And if there are common misconceptions or ideas that may that people have questions about, we'd like to go ahead and try to answer those to the best of our ability and maybe hopefully represent a more positive ideal of what Anonymous is.
And trust me, listeners, the conversations that we've had off air, if we can make it half as good for you tonight, this is going to be literally mind-blowing. And I want to come to you, Op Free World. What is Op Free World? Because some of the listeners out there, they'll have heard of Anonymous, but I would love you 2016 for Anonymous. No voice changers tonight. No need for a mask. We're on Skype. But I am absolutely immensely proud that Anonymous, or part of them, have chosen the Kev Baker Show and Truth Frequency Radio to step it up a gear. They're going to now be speaking publicly instead of hiding behind the keyboards and the masks, where it's very easy for the intelligence agencies to hijack every good operation they do. So tonight, for everyone, we're going to learn what Anonymous really is. And we're even going to be asking, are we truly awake? So, without any further ado, let me go over to somebody that they call Op Free World. And for tonight, I will be calling him BFH. Welcome finally to the Kev Baker Show, man.
It's been a long time coming.
It really has. And I mean, you've been hanging out now on TFR for a little while. Seen you in the chat room. Very, very active over on the Facebook. And finally, the show that I say the security services have been dreading is going ahead. And this is going to be great tonight, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a big step for us, considering most of the anonymous-related information people get from CNN and YouTube. That a lot of it can't be verified at all. So it's going to be interesting.
And that's
Seeking answers to age-old questions. Deciphering the world painted around you by the mainstream media. This is the Kev Baker Show. And now, here is your host, Kev Baker.
good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to all you Wookiees and Anons that are tuning in live tonight, right here to the Kev Baker Show on www.truthfrequencyradio.com, where we truly do give you the best of protection from deception. What an absolutely huge night we have got for you tonight. Honestly, 2016 is going to be a big year for the Kev Baker Show, Truth Frequency Radio Network, and Anonymous. And we'll get into that in just a moment. But Johnny Whistles, I've been counting down the sleeps like it was Christmas until this show. It's finally here. And this is really going to raise the bar on KBS tonight, man. Are you looking forward to this?
Oh, Kev, I've been looking forward to this since we started talking to Free World and getting it. They were coming on the show. So this is going to be epic, brother. Alas, Matthew Scott, we've got Nancy Lalonde, Free World. How we doing, brothers? We've got Peter Collins, Peter Small, myself, Papa Bear. We've got Reese, Rizzy, we've got Sam, we've got Sarah, we've got Scottish John. How you doing? We've got TFR Wookie, Time Lord, and Thomas Silk, and Tim Osmond, and last but not least, Mr. Transpersonals. And Kev, all the Anons have got masks on.
Oh, that must have made your job impossible, Johnny. And I want to give a shout out to all the security services that are tuned in live tonight as well, because I am sure they are numerous. Like I was saying at the top of the show, 2016 really is going to be a game-changing year. Not just here on the Kev Baker Show and on the network on the whole, but also for Anonymous. Now, we've all heard of Anonymous. We all have our own idea of what Anonymous is. And for many of us, we're used to hearing Anonymous like this.
Greetings, world.
But you see, not tonight, because things are stepping up a gear